How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of Staying Connected, where we explore the depths of self and the relationships of people around us through open and honest conversations. I'm Kenny.
And I'm Scott. And let's go ahead and jump into it. So today we're going to talk a little bit about culture, particularly
Exciting.
different countries' culture. We're going to talk about a little bit about like our travels and um, see what we learned from those cultures, their differences, the similarities, and basically how it shaped us into becoming who we are. And yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's want to ask Kenny about his extensive trip to Korea. So he has lived there for a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your travels to Korea.
Well, first off, yeah, going to Korea was my first time out of the US, and it really opened my eyes to a whole new world. And it was actually one of the highlights of my life. And for me to be able to share it right now is exciting. So, yeah, back in fall 2014, I was still in college at that time, and then I decided to study abroad. And from there, I decided to choose Korea, like Korea. I was fascinated about the food and just the whole energy of and the excitement of that country. So I decided to go to Korea. It was my first time getting a passport as well. And then eventually, um, yeah, I just did all my documents and made sure that everything was okay. So yeah, it was a process getting to Korea, but eventually, um, living in Korea, yeah, I had to adjust to so many different things, not just the language barriers, but
Mhm.
just the way you treat others
Right.
when it comes to your age or just anywhere you go, who you speak to. It was something that I had to really adapt to and learn along the way. And for me, I don't look Korean at all. So I would get stares a lot. And it was, yeah, interesting to see just a whole new world where in Hawaii, I'm so used to seeing like Filipinos and yeah, just a whole mixture of Asian cultures and yeah, just a melting pot. So yeah, in Korea, I was studying at a university in the countryside, 2 hours away from Seoul, and yeah, so that kind of helped me immerse myself into learning a lot more about the culture, especially when it comes to just yeah, visiting different villages and
Right.
trying out different foods. And I was in Korea for about a semester, stayed a little bit longer after that. And yeah, so one of the key things that I really had to adjust to um, with the culture was, yeah, the language barrier, the relationships with people, trying to find a way to build these relationships. And on top of that, yeah, just trying to learn more about Korean history, just so I have an idea of like whenever I'm out and about, I'm able to kind of yeah throw out like a conversation with um, other Korean students or just yeah anybody in general, and then eventually bring that back to Hawaii. Um, yeah,
I
so
have a
it
couple
was
questions for you, Kenny.
yeah
I'm gonna jump right
throw
in.
throw them out.
Give a couple questions. So before you did a little bit research about Korea, what was your knowledge of Korea? Anything you knew about Korea before you did the research? And what did you think about Korea?
Well, well, first off, I didn't know how to speak Korean at all. So my Korean speaking, writing, listening skills were at 0%. So
Right.
I had to learn Korean while I was up at the university. And in addition to that, I was familiar with Korean food. I grew up eating kimchi. Um, yeah, like even if I look back on this whole experience, yeah, food really brings us together. So that's why I decided to go to Korea just to kind of learn their
Hmm.
cuisine as well.
Did you
Um,
have to watch a lot of K dramas, a lot of K pop?
Surprisingly, I I never was into like dramas or like K-pop, anything like that.
Hey. Oh,
Yeah, like you, like a lot of my friends that are into um, like going to Korea, that's the main reason why they go. Is like they're
right,
just
right.
so fascinated about K-pop and um, yeah, K-dramas. But for me, it was totally different. It was more about the food and just experiencing something different. Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad that I made that decision. Um, yeah, so it's definitely come a long way, and yeah, I would say like my Korean speaking skills are like intermediate and all that.
You can have a conversation, right, with
Yep, yeah,
somebody.
survival type of Korean. And I guess in addition to learning the language while I was up there, or like my prior research, yeah, I mean, I just researched just different parts of Korea. As many of you know, that there's North and South Korea.
Right.
So before that, I would tell people like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to South Korea, or I'm gonna go to Korea," and they would be like, "Are you going
What?
north or south?" Like even my parents too. My family was excited, but at the same time worried because yeah, it was my first time out of the country, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, they knew that the time difference and just the location itself was so far away, and I mean they kind of knew the history of like North and South Korea.
There's that potential. There might be like a war breaking out, and you might get
Yeah,
caught in the
yeah.
blast.
So that I mean that's possible as well, and yeah, just the fact that their son is just away without being able to care as
Right. Hmm.
physically care for them. But yeah, at that time I was a college student, so I was like kind of old enough to just learn from these experiences, and yeah, it really helped along the way. Um, yeah, so just learning about South Korea, like the geography of it, specific, just like traditional type of behaviors or yeah, cultural behaviors that I had to really keep in mind. Um, and yeah, that didn't really go into effect till I landed in the airport. That's when I
Right.
like,
Hmm.
wow, this research kind of helped, but at the same time, I wish I did more research.
Yeah, I was gonna go into that about like etiquette in Korea. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
there are any certain behaviors or like culture shock that you had to go through?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I noticed is that, like, for me, looking as a, I mean, for me, looking foreigner, yeah, they were pretty welcoming. Korean people
Mm.
are very friendly, and yeah, from the day I landed in the airport, yeah, I was just like friendly and all that. And then when you tell them you're from Hawaii, different story. It's you're kind of
Or
like, yeah,
good
you're
thing,
kind of
is that a
like,
good thing?
yeah, it's a really good thing. So yeah, they love Hawaii and all that. So yeah, it was kind of nice to be a representative of Hawaii um, at in Korea and all that. Um, yeah, so just like the etiquette and all that, just paying for stuff is different.
Really how?
Yeah, so I mean, normally when we pay for stuff, it's like you pay with one hand or you just like
Hmm.
give the cashier just your cash. And in Korea, it's totally different. It's you have to be a little bit more respectful and all that. Yeah, so just saying please and
Could you
thank you.
show how you would hand somebody, let's say like you would
Yeah.
hand money to someone older than you? How would you do it?
Oh, yeah. So we'll get into that. Yeah, more to like when it comes to like the age difference and all that.
Hmm.
But yeah, like just going to a convenience store, I would like I would get my stuff and then at the cash register, I would take all my money and then there's a certain way. So like you would use your hand and kind of like
Hmm.
um, put it in sort of a gesture. Let me just stand up real quick. So like
Show the audience.
so yeah. So if I have like say this pen is like $1 or
Right.
something, um, yeah. So I would like give it with both hands just like that, and yeah, it was just a
Do
little
you
bit
bow
more.
too, or do you have to do a little bow too, or?
That too, I really got adjusted to. Yeah, every now and then I would bow to people older than me.
Hmm.
But yeah, so just the way I was paying stuff was it really threw me off and I had to
Mm-hmm.
adjust to. But yeah, going back to like the age difference and all that, that really makes I mean, age difference is pretty huge in Korea. So
Right.
um, yeah, like anyone older than you, there's a certain way you call them. So like for example, like and someone like a guy who's older than me, I would call
Mm-hmm.
him Hyung,
Right.
or like a woman that's older than me, like a girl that's older than me, Nuna. Um, yeah, I mean, I would try to, for me, I wanted to learn the culture, so I tried to adapt to it
Right.
um, as a foreigner, just because, yeah, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to live in Korea. So why
Mm-hmm.
not immerse yourself into it? Um,
So there's like different honorifics for
yeah,
people of like different
yeah,
genders, and
yeah,
younger and older, right? Nice.
yeah. I believe they call it like Nopimar, yeah, which is like honorifics, depending on who you're talking to, someone older, someone younger, you change the way you speak. So like
Mm-hmm.
there's different keywords that you add onto,
Right.
yeah, just a whole sentence that makes it formal, informal, and all of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
was.
because in Japanese culture, you would usually call someone by their last name, before you
Mhm.
got really close and you call them by their first name. Is it similar like that in Korea? You start with their last name, or do you start with their first name? Or is it different because you went through a
Mhm.
university with more like um,
So
international students?
yeah, well, so the way they usually introduce themselves, like Korean students, or like anybody Korean, the family name comes first, and then
Mm-hmm.
their first name. So
Right.
like one of my good friends, his name is Songwoo, and his last name is Cha. But in Korea, he would introduce himself Cha Songwoo. So
You'll
it's
call him by his first name, right?
yeah. So I call him by his
Mm-hmm.
first name. But what I found interesting is that a lot of Korean students that I met, they have English names that they had from when they were younger. So they would usually ask me like, "Oh yeah, you can call me by my English name." But for me, I wanted to learn the language too, so I just decided to call them by their
Mm-hmm.
normal Korean name.
Is that a
Um,
younger generation kind of thing, or do the older generations adopt English name too?
yeah. So what's interesting is that Korea I mean, they try to teach their children, or like yeah, Korean families try to teach their children English at a super young age. Um,
Interesting.
just so because the brain at that time is still developing, so
Right.
alongside learning Korean, they learn English at the same time. And there's different academies set up throughout Korea,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to their regular public school or private school that they attend.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, whenever they're at these, they call it hagwons, like English academies.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever they go to school, yeah, they normally try to use their English names. So yeah, that's
Interesting.
another interesting thing that I found out when I was there. Yeah, English, learning English at a young age is like, I mean, it's a trend, but it's been happening for years,
Mm-hmm.
many years. Just
Can
because,
I
yeah.
ask how was their English? Was it like pretty good, or like you
So
can still?
so like for me, I was in the countryside, so
Mm-hmm.
the speaking level, like their English speaking level wasn't as um strong as like living in the city, like where
Right.
Seoul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, a lot of people in Seoul, I found out that yeah, they really have a better English speaking level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then again, I had friends in the countryside that, yeah, their English was like understandable. I could like just,
Right.
yeah, or that conversate as much as I can. So yeah, it was a lot of language exchange while I was there, which was
Mm-hmm.
nice. I learned Korean for the first time. They kind of like learned English as well as yeah some Hawaiian words as well.
Do you teach
So
them pigeon?
oh yeah, every now
You
and then I would
just
I would throw in some stuff. Yeah, there is a story that I want to like share later on, about like, yeah, what Korea has like influenced, yeah, just my future on. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was good language exchange. Yeah, so I guess for me as an exchange student there, I would go to classes, like probably 3 or 4 classes a day. And then, yeah, so that was like history, speaking, writing Korean,
Mm-hmm.
culture, as well as like Taekwondo. So I took,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, studied Taekwondo up there. And then I mean, I still have my, my uniform and all that, but I'm
Mm.
not going to use it right now. Um, yeah, so it's,
We might see Kenny recording, so kicking a board in half, doing a
yeah, I
540.
mean, so yeah, I mean, it was only a semester, but yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah, so after classes, um, we would go to these cultural language exchanges where um, the university that I went to, the way they set it up was like my university and that university in Korea was called Suncheonhyang Daehakyo, so Suncheonhyang University. They had a
Mm-hmm.
partnership. So when I got there, I was actually living with Korean students. So it was a room filled with, let's say, 12 people
Oh wow.
in one dorm. Yeah, so it's a huge building. Yeah, so 12 people in one dorm, which included foreign students and Korean students, as well as students from China as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was like a good chance to like learn different cultures in one
For
room.
sure.
My roommate was Korean, so yeah, we just kind of learned more about each other, and um, yeah, like his English level was, I mean, not so good, so it was good to see the evolution of it from like the beginning of the semester
Mm-hmm.
to the end,
Right.
and from there, yeah, you just build the relationships. Um, you have your own differences, and yeah, you just come together and just share as much like what we do now.
Mm-hmm. So I have
Uh,
to ask, a lot of my friends that do study abroad,
mhm,
they tend to do quite poorly in school because all they want to do is just have fun,
mhm,
especially in Korea, which is very well known for their party culture, especially
mhm.
more in Seoul, where
Yeah.
soju bars is like super super cheap, and it is
Yes.
the culture to drink a lot, right, and to party pretty hard.
Yeah.
So
So
were you a study student, or did you like lax off a little bit just to like enjoy the culture and
yeah.
have some fun?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, first off, it's like Korean culture. They love to drink, and
Mm-hmm.
they have some high energy. Um yeah, it was interesting because what is it? At that time, I was 20 years old
Oh,
in Korea, and I was there like a couple weeks before I turned 21. So yeah, in
right.
America, you're like old enough to, when you're 21, you're old enough to drink. But
Mm-hmm.
when I went to Korea, I was already old enough to
Really?
um
What's the age there?
20.
What's the least?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So
convenient.
I yeah, so yeah, when I was there, I knew I was there to like study and all that, but yeah, I was also having fun at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I was, yeah, I had a good balance between both. You know, every now and then we would, especially like the beginning of the semester where you're like just meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just gotta have fun, and yeah, I mean the university itself would host these huge events like music
Really?
concerts where there's tents set up with just alcohol, like food. Yeah,
Wow.
just like everybody, just the camaraderie of people, just, yeah, you can just feel the excitement and energy from everybody. It's just positive anywhere.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Like Korean Coachella.
it was kind of like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Um, so it was nice to experience all of that. But yeah, I tried to balance both my studying as well as my party,
Mm-hmm.
um, adventurous, yeah, experience there. And yeah, so it was like a new experience yeah, not just me, but like any other foreign
Do
student.
you have a memorable party story that you still
Oh,
remember?
yes. Yes. Okay, the drinking culture in Korea is very different from America to the point where, yeah, like when they drink in Korea, it's hilarious. You have these games set up, but yeah, I gotta tell you about like my 20 my 21st birthday. So yeah, just just kind of like long story short, there's this specific shot you get when you're 21 or
Mm-hmm.
you're 20, and then there's this picture, and then there's like people around you gather. So the goal is to put whatever in the pitcher on top of like soju and beer,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. And then the fact that it was my birthday, I would have to drink a shot of anything that was in there. So that
Right.
was like my very first experience with drinking culture in Korea. I don't know what bizarre um, thought they had of that. It was just like um, yeah, drinking culture is it's high energy. There's games involved.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, we go to like these outings and we
Mm-hmm.
play these games and all that. So it's
Yeah, make the tornado with the
yeah,
and hit it with your elbow and
yeah.
makes the drink tastier,
Yeah.
right?
Um, but yeah, on top of that, it's just like just the camaraderie of people, as I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was like the biggest highlight of the whole experience, just building relationships and um, yeah, that would last years and years and years. Yeah, even today, like
Mm-hmm.
my friends from the university, I still keep in touch with them. And
Nice. Could you
but
share some tips, Kenny, on like how to like make those relationships when there is a language barrier?
yeah,
There is a cultural barrier. Like, can you give us any advice on that?
yeah, just don't be afraid. There's gonna be yeah, we all know this idea of culture shock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, I was yeah, I mean, I was a little bit shocked about just the whole etiquette and all that, but language and all that, it's yeah, nobody's perfect. It's like you practice and you learn from
Mm-hmm.
those experiences. So yeah, that's why like it took me years to learn Korean and all that.
Do you remember what you talked to your roommate about? Like,
Yeah, I mean just like family, like simple stuff, hobbies and all that.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, so just kind of like started off with simple, easy stuff, hobbies, interests, and goals. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody has their own major at the university.
Right.
So it'd be good to kind of like learn all of that and also know like where they're from specifically in Korea because during they have a lot of holidays for some reason. Like,
Really? Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I
What kind?
remember, well, like they have like this Thanksgiving holiday where they all just go home. It's called Chuseok.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, getting to know where your friend is from in Korea is nice to know because yeah, there's like so many different cities, and you might have the opportunity to possibly go to their home and yeah, just meet their family, learn more about the culture, which
Mm-hmm.
I luckily got that opportunity to. Yeah, so like my roommate would, I would get to know my roommate, and then eventually, yeah, he invited me to his family home, which was like 2 hours away. So yeah, a lot of
Wow.
them live like far, so they do take the trains. The trains are excellent, by the way. They're on time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we would travel far just to go see their family, and yeah, it's a unique and yeah, it's a unique experience that
Mm-hmm.
you can't really get anywhere.
Right.
Um, yeah.
I got two major things when I was listening to you talk. It's first of all is you know we're more alike to each other like human beings. like more than we think we know. It's at first it's like, well, I don't know anything about this person, their different backgrounds and such. And then the more you talk about it, oh, this person's just like me. They wanna, they like sports, they like reading, they like this certain type of music. They have similar goals. They want to do this. They want to do that. And the more you learn about someone, it's like, oh shoot, even if we can't communicate, to the fullest extent, like I still understand you
Yeah.
because, of like the things we have in common. And the second thing was that you talk, I think it's very important. You talk about taking that first step. And I think a lot of time, people don't want to make connection with others because, they're afraid of making that first step. They're afraid of like, oh, well, that looks stupid, but the other person is probably just as nervous or as
Yeah.
anxious, and they want to learn more about you. But it's just like both sides are just hesitating. So when you take that first step, and just be curious about the other person, and you just want to learn about them, I think that's just major for me.
Yeah.
Even like networking events, like a lot of people, oh, who did I talk to? There's so many people,
Yeah.
but you approach
It's,
someone like, hey, hey, my name is Scott, like, what brought you here? Like, who do you know here? And just taking that step, I think that's a major key. That's a very good skill to have, no matter if you're studying abroad, you're going to networking events,
anywhere.
meeting
Yeah.
anybody. Yeah, I think that's a major, major key. So I definitely learned something important
Yeah.
today. That
Because yeah, any relationship you build, you definitely have your own strengths and weaknesses and
mm-hmm.
all of that. And yeah, just don't be afraid to make that first step because eventually it'll blossom into something bigger. And
Exactly.
yeah, just another example of my experience in Korea. There, like, I also play tennis as well. And
Mm-hmm.
um, when I found out that there was a tennis club in Korea at the university, I was like, oh, maybe I should go check it out. And yeah, so it was just me. I didn't have any racket or anything. I just was walking back to my dorm and seeing the club playing. So I just went in and asked, not knowing Korean, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, is there a way that I can play? Um,
Just point
because
and
I,
just.
yeah, so like I had to use like movement, like hand movements and all that. Um, so yeah, that experience, yeah. So I would tell them like, yeah, maybe I can come by like in 30 minutes and we can try play. And yeah, so the club's name was Parangse, which is like Bluebird, and
Mm-hmm.
it was only made up of Korean students. So the fact that like a foreigner just walked onto the court and just asked
Right.
like, "Hey, can I join?" Um, they were kind of like, "Oh, surprised,"
Mm-hmm.
and they were thankfully like open to me just like joining and all that. I do have a photo of like the whole club, so you
Oh,
see
you
all
need to
these.
show me. You need to show
Yeah,
me.
yeah, we're gonna um I'll share it with you, but yeah, you would see like all these Korean people, and then all of a sudden you see this like dark Filipino looking guy right in the center.
Represent.
Yeah. So yeah, that was nice to like just take that first step, and you never know because you just like yeah, you can build off of the relationship like through your interests. So a lot of my friends they were playing tennis, and um, yeah, from there just grow your relationships, and eventually off the court we just went to
Mm-hmm.
eat, and yeah, from there um,
Were
the
you
story is
nervous or
history.
were you like scared of like walking up to these people, not
Mm.
knowing a lot of Korean, like still being able to
Actually,
ask them?
yeah,
Like,
actually,
what gave you the confidence?
I think just my personality. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to trying new things. Like even if I suck at it, like I
Mm-hmm.
might as well suck at it now and just practice and
Right.
practice and practice. Then, um, yeah, be all like, oh, I got this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I think just my personality wise, I'm just like open to trying new things, and
Mm-hmm.
um, the fact that I like tennis as well, it was just something that I wanted to try take up because yeah, I mean on top of all the eating and all that, yeah, like playing tennis was also helpful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just learning about
Any advice you would give like someone like little shyer that would
yeah,
like let's say like someone's really shy and
yeah,
they want to talk to this like business club or any kind of
mhm.
club, but then they're like
Yeah, there's a
they're a
lot
little
of clubs.
reserved. Like how would you like any advice for them
Mhm.
to overcome their fears and their
Yeah,
anxiety?
I mean there's gonna be language barriers um, in any of the situations you're in, like studying in Korea, but yeah, you would just have to find just like these common interests and just common knowledge. Yeah, like there's so many different clubs that I seen at the university and so many that I wanted to join, but you know, time and priority, all of that. Um, yeah, you would just have to just go up and maybe like a simple question like, hey, what's your name? Um, what are you guys trying to like promote? All of that. And yeah, just find a sense of commonalities between your interests and all that. But it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, for anybody shy to like study abroad, it's gonna be a life changer. Because yeah, like if you're just shy in general, like speaking English, going to a different country where they speak no English, it's yeah, you might as well just
Right.
try it out. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna make mistakes here and there, but um, yeah, just having one or two relationships with like
Mm-hmm.
people is helpful. Yeah.
I agree. Definitely. Just like you're gonna sound pretty funny to them because you don't know that much.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's
Mm-hmm.
Korean. You're gonna sound pretty like weird and awkward, but that's fine. Just doing it, going out of your comfort zone is so important. But another
It's
tip
yeah.
is if you're nervous and you're shy, bring a friend with you, bring a roommate with
Mm-hmm.
you. So that way,
Yeah.
you have someone, even if that person doesn't speak Korean, just
Yeah.
having someone there would be, will give you a little bit peace of mind. So, if you're gonna
Yeah.
look foolish with another person, so it won't be so bad.
Yeah. So
Um,
that's yeah, that's another experience too. Just like being able to travel with Korean students who like know a lot more than what I knew at that time.
mm-hmm,
Because yeah, I mean they first off they speak Korean. They know their way around and um, yeah. So just to have someone that's Korean or just yeah anywhere you study abroad, having a friend that knows a lot about the country and speaks the language is helpful.
mm-hmm. Awesome.
So
So it seems like going to Korea had like a profound effect on you, and just want to transition to the next question of like,
mm,
how's that that when you were 20, you're like a couple years later, how has that experience shaped who you are now and like
yeah,
affected the decisions that you've made so far? Now
mm,
that you're back in Hawaii.
yeah. I mean, coming back to Hawaii, it was a little bit of a reverse culture shock just because I was so used to the etiquette in Korea. I was yeah, I brought it back to Hawaii and had to readjust to the laid back lifestyle
Bowing
here.
to all the uncles, like, oh, bro, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah. I mean, on top of that, it was just the pace of everything um, that I had to get used to when I came back to Hawaii. Um, yeah, so that brings me to another experience when I came back. So the friends that I made at the university, actually like two, three of them I knew, they gave me a call like a month after. So at that time, I was like a senior in college. I actually studied abroad in Korea when I was a junior. But they gave me a call saying, "Hey, I want to study abroad in Hawaii." And from there, we just like talked about it and tried to plan it. So the fact that I went to Korea and made friends there, and eventually they called me up saying, "Hey, I want to come live in your country now,"
Mm-hmm.
was an incredible opportunity because now I was able to share Hawaii and my culture with them when they eventually came here. Um, yeah, so it was a new experience for them because they've never been to Hawaii before. It was culture shock for them, and for me being from Hawaii, I mean I learned along the way too, like just being
Mm-hmm.
able to show them places and show them, teach them the culture of everything. Um, Based off of my experiences traveling to Korea, yeah, I mean takeaways from that is just, yeah, be open to trying new things. That's what I told my friends when they came to Hawaii as well. Just be open to trying new things. Um, and yeah, don't be afraid to just make the first move, like the conversation and
Right. Mm-hmm.
um, all of that. And yeah, it was a good experience. My friends that were here studying from Korea, they were here for 1 year. So it's actually kind of long. Um, and then we actually lived in the same house too. So
Oh, how fun.
um, they they wanted to learn more about American culture.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like back when I was in Korea, I would try to practice their etiquette, all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
when they came to Hawaii, it was like reverse. It was like
Well,
they
what
wanted,
was the first thing you taught them about Hawaii etiquette or
um,
Hawaii culture?
I mean, language, all of that. And yeah, saying aloha, shaka, all
Mm,
of that.
Shaka.
We love to
How's
hug.
it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we love to hug in Hawaii, which in Korea or like a lot of Asian cultures, it's more bowing
Yes.
and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, just there's like different pieces along the way where they had to learn and I had to kind of like just, yeah, also like refresh myself on all of this stuff. It was a, yeah, they were surprised to see just how diverse Hawaii was. And
Mm-hmm.
um, on top of that, yeah, they were studying, and yeah, we just tried to learn more about each other along the way, just kind of pick up from where we left off back in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They must have been pretty upset when they found out the soju here was like literally 5 times the price, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah, it was, I was shocked at that too. Yeah, it's the price difference was very like shocking to them, just how expensive everything is. But then again, it pays to live in paradise.
Right.
And that was something that I, yeah, initially taught them too. Like, yeah, Hawaii is pretty expensive. It's like tourism here is big, and you gotta pay extra, and also tipping as well.
Yeah.
Korea
Yeah.
does not tip. Hawaii, America tips. That's another thing that they had to adjust to as well. Yeah, so yeah, along the way, I would like kind of see these differences between Korea and Hawaii, America, kind of thing. Yeah, tipping and just the way you approach people as well. That, yeah, everybody's easygoing in Hawaii, laid back,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in Korea, the pace is a lot faster, and 1 minute off here, it's already a bad thing. Yeah, and then just commuting anywhere too. We have the bus system here. They have the train system. They're very efficient in Korea. Hawaii, it's
Right.
like a couple minutes off and all that. So yeah, it was a whole new culture that they had to learn, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was lucky enough to be able to share a lot of that with them.
Just hearing about your experiences with your friends, um, that's literally how this podcast came to be. It's like
Mm-hmm.
staying connected, and you know, I think
Yeah,
that's a very good lesson to learn. Like with all the friends that you made along the way, you know, you gotta somehow, keep in touch with them and stay in contact, and just it can be easy as hey, what you doing, or especially
yeah,
nowadays, it's like, oh, there's like COVID, so I hope everything's all right, and that's such an
mm-hmm.
easy way to stay in
That's
contact with everybody, and like you said about having lifelong friends, and
mm-hmm.
and even when you go back to Korea, which we will,
Yes, we
sometime,
have
hopefully
plans.
next, hopefully next
Hopefully,
year,
when
maybe
things
the year
get,
after. But not
yeah,
now that you have someone in the country that can show you around,
mhm.
it's so much easier than relying on like
Yeah,
tour guides
it's,
and such. So relationships are everything. You know,
yep.
building
And
relationships to me has always been not not too tough. It's been like alright,
mhm,
not too bad. But maintaining relationships has always been a challenge for me. Especially with like everything going on, work, other
yeah,
stuff. Sometimes you lose track and you forget to like check in on people. And
mhm,
a lot of times, like we just discussed, you got to make that first step.
mhm.
Whether it's a text, it's a call. You're the person that has to make that step. Because sometimes
Yeah,
maybe they're in the same situation where they're extremely busy and they're working, family and friends, whatnot. So you
yeah.
got to be the person like, hey, what's up? Just trying to see how you're doing, hope everything is well. And do you think that's like an easy way, low hanging fruit to like stay connected with someone,
Yeah,
something
I
like that,
mean,
something.
every now and then we lose touch with people, but it's just making that effort to reach out helps a lot, especially during this time too, where yeah, we all need to reach out and
Mhm.
yeah, just get updates from everybody that we care about. And yeah, on top of that, just start new relationships too if you can.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. A lot of my friends, when we went to UH, they
Mhm.
went to Korea and they partied their
Oh,
butts off, and then like they had pictures and like, oh, it was so fun.
yeah.
Everyone was so open. Like I kind of wish I went.
Yeah.
So, um, to
Were you into
whoever,
all of that, the K-pop and K-drama, all of that stuff too?
yeah, I like their music. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
too big on K dramas though.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty big on
Yeah.
K-pop. It's pretty dope music. I like all types of music,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I wish I could have done that because it was something new. It was
Mm-hmm.
like I was like a little scared to leave
Yeah.
my safety hut of Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm
Yeah.
so used to everything, and that's where you get the most growth, right? When you go out of your comfort zone, you go out of your boundaries.
Yeah. I can tell you that like traveling to a different country, not knowing anything, I mean, it is difficult at first, but as long as you do like your research and yeah, all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And if you have a friend in living in that country too, it'll be an incredible opportunity.
Let's go ahead and go to our recommendation of the week. What do you have for us, Kenny?
A key tip is to step out of your comfort zone and try to learn something new. And, although we can't travel right now, um, there's room to do research about all of these places that you want to go to. Because eventually, when we do have that capability, then yeah, you'll kind of be more knowledgeable of what's happening around us, kind of thing.
Definitely agree with just doing something that's new, doing something you're afraid of. So I have taken, what we talked about. I've taken this opportunity during COVID to really challenge myself and see what I can do, exploring the undiscovered. So I've started my own personal blog. It's going to be called
Oh,
The Daily Muse. Thank you. Basically, I have all these thoughts in my head, right, about things in life, business, finance, relationships, communication. And basically, this blog is for me to put down those thoughts and basically crystallize my thinking and hopefully turn. I have two goals. The first goal is to become a better thinker. By putting these thoughts down, I'm able to make sure that everything aligns well. It allows me to have different thoughts about anything and just synergize it with different thoughts and um, allow me to become a better thinker. And secondly of all, it's just to help me put these thoughts into action. Because that's my plan. Put these thoughts out, um, experiment by doing actions, and then going back to the lab and seeing what I got from that experience, and then putting out new thoughts. So it's kind of like a circle, a cycle, basically. So that way it allows for this cycle of self improvement and mental thinking, which I think are two very important skills that I want to continue to develop. So I challenge anybody that's listening to this to Do something you're unsure of. Do something that you're scared of, and you're gonna find that you're gonna grow so much. And I've grown so much just doing research how to do blogs, and
Yeah.
using different fonts and putting down, making sure my thoughts, they're crystallized and they make sense. Because sometimes I'll write down a thought because I'm writing every single night, and then I look at it in the morning, and like it doesn't make any damn sense. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know why I had that thought. So I had to change the structure around to make sure it's appropriate and it makes sense to the person reading it. So if you're interested in joining me in my my thought process mental training journey, it's Daily Muse, HI, on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, let's become
Super
better thinkers
excited for
together.
that.
Yeah, so
Daily
I was
Mix
inspired
HI.
by Kenny too, because he started his own
Yeah.
blog for food and culture. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? I
So,
got to step my game. So I don't know if you remember from our
mhm,
first podcast. I said, okay, you just made me want to raise my level. So
mhm,
I want to
yeah.
just practice what we preach.
And yeah, I mean, tying back to what your exciting project is about, yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone. That's kind of the theme that we really want to push out. Is just, we never had a blog before. I mean, although we like to write and all that, but yeah, trying something new while you can, and it's going to be an exciting journey, just like this podcast as well.
This is a great time. I love learning about different
Mhm.
cultures. I love learning more about you as well. So all right, guys. See you on the next episode at Staying Connected,
All right,
gathering,
growing
growing together.
together. All right, peace out, guys. Aloha.